I was not supposed to come home that early. If I had stayed at work just one more hour, I would have never seen it. I would have walked into my house smiling, kissed my wife, and believed my life was still perfect. But that day, something told me to leave early. I did not know that one small choice would break my heart before the sun even set. When I opened the front door, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The lights in the living room were on, but I did not hear the TV or music. I called out, "Emily!" My voice sounded strange in the silence. Then I heard a soft sound. It was a cry, not loud, not dramatic, just the kind of cry that hurts more, because someone is trying to hide it. It was coming from the kitchen. I walked slowly toward it. Each step felt heavy, like my body already knew what my heart did not want to accept. And when I reached the doorway, I froze. Emily was standing near the counter, her face buried in someone's chest. And that someone was Ryan, my best friend. His arms were wrapped around her, not loose, not friendly, tight. Like he was holding something fragile, like he was protecting her. My world went silent. I could not even hear my own breathing. All I could see was my wife crying in another man's arms, my best friend's arms. Ryan looked up first. His eyes met mine, and I saw something in them. It was not guilt. It was not fear. It was something else. Something I could not read. Emily felt his body stiffen. She turned her head. When she saw me standing there, her face changed. Her cheeks were wet, her eyes red and swollen. She looked broken. "Jake," she whispered. That was all she said. I waited for her to move away from him. I waited for Ryan to step back. But for a few long seconds, neither of them moved. That silence felt like a knife, slowly turning in my chest. Finally, Ryan gently let go of her. He stepped back, raising his hands a little like he was surrendering. "It's not what you think," he said. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because that line sounded so wrong in that moment. It is the line people say when it is exactly what you think. I walked into the kitchen, my eyes never leaving them. "Then tell me what I'm thinking," I said. My voice was calm, but inside I felt like I was falling apart. Emily wiped her face with her hands. She looked at me like she wanted to run to me, but something was holding her back. "Jake, please," she said softly. "Just listen." Listen. That word hurt. Ryan looked at her, then at me. "I'm going to give you two some space," he said. His voice was steady, but his jaw was tight. As he walked past me, I could feel the heat in my chest rising. I wanted to grab him. I wanted to ask him how long this had been going on. I wanted to shout. But I did nothing. I just stood there as he left my house. My house. The front door closed, and the sound echoed through the hallway. Now it was just me and Emily, the woman I loved more than anything. The woman I married 3 years ago, under the bright summer sky in Charleston. She looked small standing there. Not guilty, not angry, just hurt. "Why were you in his arms?" I asked. I hated how weak my voice sounded. She stepped toward me slowly. "Because I didn't know who else to call," she said. That answer confused me. It did not calm me. "You didn't know who else to call?" I repeated. "I'm your husband, Emily." Tears filled her eyes again. "I know you are," she said, "and that's why this is so hard." Those words made my stomach twist. "What is so hard?" I asked. She took a deep breath, like she was trying to gather courage. "I found out something today," she said. "Something I didn't know how to tell you." I stared at her. My mind was racing with dark thoughts. Was she leaving me? Was she in love with him? Had they been meeting behind my back? "What did you find out?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. "I went to the doctor this morning," she said quietly. "The doctor." That was not what I expected. "And?" I said. She looked up at me, and the pain in her eyes was real. It was not fake. It was not dramatic. It was deep and heavy. "I can't have children," she said. The words hit me like cold water. For a moment, I forgot about Ryan. I forgot about the hug. All I saw was my wife standing in front of me, crying because of something bigger than both of us. "What?" I whispered. She nodded slowly. They ran tests last month. I got the results today. The doctor said it's very unlikely, almost impossible. I felt my anger begin to fade, replaced by something else. Shock, sadness, fear. We had talked about kids so many times. We had imagined a little girl with her smile. A little boy with my eyes. We had planned names. We had dreamed together. "And you called Ryan?" I asked softly. Her face crumbled again. "I didn't know how to tell you," she said. "You've always wanted to be a dad. I thought if I told you, you would look at me differently. I thought you would see me as broken." My chest tightened. "So you called him?" I said. She nodded. "He was the first person who picked up. I just needed someone to hear me cry before I faced you." Her words were honest, painfully honest. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I fell in love with in a small coffee shop in Nashville. The woman who danced in the kitchen on Sunday mornings. The woman who held my hand every night before bed. She was not cheating on me. She was scared. But even as I realized that, something inside me still felt unsettled. Because there was one question I had not asked yet. "Emily," I said slowly, "why did you think I would leave you?" She froze, and the way her eyes shifted away from mine made my heart drop all over again. Because that fear did not come from nowhere. And I suddenly wondered what else she had been hiding from me. She did not answer me right away. She just stood there, her eyes fixed on the floor like it held the words she was afraid to say. I felt that same heavy silence again, but this time it was not about Ryan. It was about us. "Emily," I said more softly, "why would you think I would leave you?" She pressed her lips together, trying to stop them from trembling. When she finally looked at me, her eyes were full of something deeper than sadness. It was fear. Real fear. "Because of what you said last month," she whispered. My mind searched for it. Last month. We had gone to Ryan and Lisa's house for dinner. Lisa was pregnant with their second baby. I remembered how excited I felt holding their little boy. I remember driving home that night, talking about how I could not wait to have that life. "I don't remember saying anything like that," I said. She shook her head gently. "You didn't mean it in a bad way. But you said you felt like your life wouldn't feel complete until you had a child. You said being a dad was your biggest dream." I did say that. I remember smiling when I said it. I remember squeezing her hand at the red light. I meant it as a dream we would share, not something that depended only on her. "I didn't mean it like that," I said quickly. "Emily, that was about us, about our future together." "But what if I can't give you that future?" she asked, her voice breaking. "What if I'm the reason you never become a dad?" The way she said it hurt more than anything I had seen when I walked in. Because in her mind, she had already started blaming herself. She had already decided she was not enough. I stepped closer to her. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just slow and steady. "You think I married you for your ability to have kids?" I asked. She looked at me like she did not know the answer. That look broke something inside me. "Emily," I said, my voice shaking now, "I married you because you are my best friend, because you laugh at my stupid jokes, because you sing off key in the car, because you hold my face when I'm stressed and tell me everything will be okay. I didn't marry you for a future baby. I married you for you." Tears rolled down her cheeks again, but this time they felt different. Less panic, more release. "I was so scared," she admitted. "When the doctor told me, I felt like the ground opened under my feet. I sat in my car for almost an hour before I could even drive home. I kept thinking about you." "Why didn't you call me?" I asked gently. She swallowed. "Because I thought I would hear disappointment in your voice. Even if you tried to hide it." That hurt, not because she thought I would be disappointed, but because she felt so alone with that fear. I reached out and took her hands. They were still cold. "You should never carry something like that by yourself," I said. She nodded slowly. "I know. I just didn't want to see that look in your eyes." "What look?" "The look of someone who realizes his dream just died." Her words made my chest ache. "My dream didn't die," I said quietly. "It just changed shape." She blinked at me. "What does that mean?" "It means there are other ways to build a family." It means we can talk about options. It means this is not the end of anything." She searched my face, like she was checking if I was only saying that to comfort her. "You're not mad?" she asked. I paused. I wanted to be honest. "I was," I admitted. "When I walked in and saw you in Ryan's arms, I felt like my whole world was falling apart. I thought you were choosing him over me." Her eyes widened. "Jake, no, never." "I know that now," I said. "But for a minute, I felt betrayed." She squeezed my hands harder. "I'm so sorry. I should have called you. I should have trusted you." "Yes," I said softly. "You should have." Quote, "The honesty between us felt raw, but it also felt real. We were not shouting. We were not blaming. We were just standing in the middle of a painful truth." She stepped closer until there was barely any space between us. "I was ashamed," she whispered. "I felt broken. I didn't want you to see me like that." I lifted my hand and wiped a tear from her cheek. "You are not broken," I said. "You are hurting. That's different." Her shoulders began to relax for the first time since I walked in. "I kept thinking you would look at me and see a failure," she said. "I look at you and see my wife," I replied, "the same woman I fell in love with." For a moment it felt like we were finding our way back to each other, but then she said something that made the ground shift again. "There's something else," she said quietly. I felt my body tense. "What else?" Quote. She hesitated, and I saw that same fear return. "The doctor didn't just talk about fertility," she said. My heart started pounding. "What do you mean?" She looked straight at me this time, and her voice dropped almost to a whisper. "They found something else in the tests." The room felt smaller. "What did they find, Emily?" Her fingers tightened around mine, and I could feel them shaking again. "They found a growth," she said. "And they don't know if it's harmless yet." Everything inside me went still. The hug with Ryan no longer mattered. The fight we almost had did not matter. The dreams about kids did not matter. All I could see was my wife standing in front of me, scared of something much bigger than either of us. "When do you go back?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Next week," she said, "for more tests." And in that moment, I realized that the day I thought I was losing my wife to my best friend was actually the day I might lose her to something far worse. I did not sleep that night. Emily finally fell asleep around 2 in the morning, her face pressed against my chest like she was afraid I would disappear. I held her the whole time. I kept listening to her breathing, slow and soft, like it was the only thing keeping me steady. Every time she shifted, I felt a rush of fear. A growth. That word echoed in my mind, again and again. I had never been so scared in my life. Not when I started my business. Not when my father had surgery years ago. Nothing felt like this. The next morning, the house felt different. The sunlight came through the windows like it always did, but everything looked heavier. Even the air felt thick. Emily sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee she barely touched. Her hair was tied back in a loose bun. She looked tired, but calmer than the day before. I walked over and kissed the top of her head. "We'll get through this," I said. She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine. "You really believe that?" "I have to," I answered. "We spent the weekend together. No phones, no visitors, just us. We watched old movies on the couch. We cooked dinner together. We talked about nothing and everything at the same time. But there was always that quiet fear sitting between us. On Sunday evening, I got a text from Ryan. "I'm here if you need me." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me still felt strange about what I had seen, even though I understood it now. The image of Emily in his arms still hurt in a way I could not explain. Emily noticed my face change. "Is it him?" she asked. I nodded. She stood up and walked over to me. "Jake, I don't want anything to come between you two because of me." "It's not because of you," I said. "It's just, I don't like the idea of you feeling like you can't come to me first." She reached up and touched my cheek. "I promise you, from now on, you are the first call. Always." Her words felt warm, real. The week moved slowly. Each day felt longer than the last. Emily tried to act normal, but I could see the way her mind drifted. Sometimes I would find her staring out the window. Sometimes she would wake up in the middle of the night, breathing fast, like she had just run a race. The morning of her appointment finally came. I drove her to the hospital in downtown Nashville. The building looked too big, too cold. I hated it the moment we pulled into the parking lot. Inside, the waiting room smelled like clean floors and quiet fear. Emily squeezed my hand so tight it almost hurt. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," I said. "So am I." They called her name and I walked with her down the long hallway. The doctor greeted us with a calm smile, but I could see the serious look behind it. After the tests, they told us we had to wait for the results. Again. Waiting felt worse than anything. 2 days later, we were back in that same office. This time, the room felt smaller. The doctor sat across from us with a folder in her hands. Emily's fingers were cold in mine. "We ran further scans," the doctor began. "The growth we found is not harmless." My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it. "It is early stage," she continued, "but it needs to be treated quickly." Emily's grip on my hand tightened. "Treated how?" I asked. The doctor looked at us gently. "Surgery first. Then we will decide if further treatment is needed." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. "Will she be okay?" I asked. The doctor nodded slowly. "We caught it early. That is a good sign." A good sign. It did not feel good. When we left the hospital, Emily did not cry. She was quiet. Too quiet. In the car, she finally spoke. "I thought it would be easier once we knew," she said. "It will be," I replied, even though I was not sure. That night, she stood in front of the bathroom mirror for a long time. I watched her from the doorway. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. She looked at her reflection. "I'm thinking about the future I imagined," she said softly. "The kids. The house full of noise. The life we planned." I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist. This time, I was the one holding her tight. "We still have a future," I said into her hair. "What if I can't give you any of it?" she asked. "You already give me everything," I answered. She turned around slowly and looked up at me. There were no tears in her eyes now, just a deep, honest sadness. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. If this gets worse, if something happens, I don't want you to stay with me out of pity." The words hit me like a slap. "Don't ever say that," I said firmly. "I need to know," she insisted. "I need to know you are with me because you want me, not because you feel sorry for me." I cupped her face in my hands. "I am with you because I love you," I said, "and that is not going to change." She searched my face again like she was looking for doubt, but there was none. Then she said something that made my heart twist in a new way. "There's something I didn't tell you," she said quietly. I felt that same tension return. "What is it?" Quote. She took a deep breath. "When I first got the results about the fertility before I called Ryan, I almost packed a bag." My chest tightened. "You almost left me?" I asked. She nodded once. "I thought you deserved someone who could give you everything you wanted." And in that moment I realized just how close I had come to losing her, not to another man, not to sickness, but to her own fear of not being enough. When she said she almost packed a bag, I felt something inside me break and heal at the same time. Break, because I could picture it. Her folding her clothes. Her looking around our bedroom one last time. Her leaving without telling me why. Heal, because she did not do it. She stayed. "You were really going to walk away?" I asked quietly. She nodded, her eyes filling with tears again. "I thought it would hurt less if I left before you had the chance to." I stepped back for a moment, not because I was angry, but because I needed to understand how deep her fear had been. The woman I loved was ready to disappear from my life, just to protect me from a future that had not even happened yet. "Emily," I said slowly, "you don't get to decide what I deserve." She looked confused. "That's my choice," I continued, "and I choose you. Even if life doesn't look the way we planned, even if it gets messy, even if it scares me." Her lips trembled. "You're not scared?" "I'm terrified," I admitted, "but I'm more scared of losing you than losing any dream." That was the truth. The idea of a quiet house without children hurt. but the idea of a quiet house without her felt unbearable. She walked into my arms, this time without hesitation. She wrapped herself around me like she had been holding back for days. I held her tight, not out of fear, but out of love. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. Those days felt like walking on thin ice. Every laugh felt fragile. Every smile felt borrowed. But we started talking more honestly than we ever had before. Not just about kids. Not just about the illness. About everything. One night, while we were lying in bed, she whispered, "If I can't have children, would you ever consider adoption?" I turned toward her. "Of course," I said. She studied my face. "You wouldn't feel like you missed out?" Quote, "I would feel like we built a family in a different way," I replied. Love doesn't change just because biology does. She let out a slow breath. I could feel her body relax next to mine. The morning of the surgery arrived faster than I wanted. At the hospital, I kissed her forehead before they took her away. "I'll be right here," I promised. She gave me a small smile. "Don't flirt with any nurses while I'm gone." I laughed softly. "Not a chance." Quote, when the doors closed behind her, the waiting began again. It felt endless, every minute stretched. I walked back and forth across the floor until my legs hurt. Ryan showed up halfway through. He did not say much. He just sat beside me. "I'm sorry if I made things worse the other day," he said quietly. I looked at him. For the first time since I walked in on them, I saw what had really been there in his eyes. Concern, loyalty. "You were helping her," I said. "I get that now." He nodded. "She was a mess, man. She didn't want to scare you." "She almost left me," I admitted. His eyebrows lifted. "What?" "She thought I would see her as less." Ryan shook his head. "You two are stubborn in the same way." We both managed a small smile. Hours later, the doctor finally came out. I stood up so fast I felt dizzy. "The surgery went well," she said. "We removed the growth. We'll need to monitor her, but we are optimistic." Optimistic. That word felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. When I was allowed to see her, she looked pale and tired, but she was awake. Her eyes found mine the second I walked in. "You're still here," she whispered. "Always," I said. I sat beside her bed and took her hand. It was weak, but warm. "They said it went well," I told her. She closed her eyes for a moment, relief washing over her face. "I was so scared I wouldn't wake up," she admitted. My throat tightened. "You did, and you're not getting rid of me that easily." A small smile touched her lips. The recovery was not easy. There were days when she felt strong, and days when she could barely get out of bed. But through it all, something had changed between us. We were softer with each other, more patient, more open. One evening, about a month later, we sat on the porch watching the sunset. The sky was painted orange and pink over Nashville. Emily rested her head on my shoulder. "I keep thinking about that day," she said quietly, "when you walked in and saw me with Ryan." "I know," I replied. "I thought I was losing you," she continued, "but I didn't realize I was pushing you away." I kissed the top of her head. We both learned something. "What's that?" Quote, "That love isn't about perfect plans," I said. "It's about staying when things fall apart." She looked up at me, her eyes clear and calm for the first time in weeks. "Do you still want a family?" she asked softly. I smiled. "I already have one." She shook her head gently. "You know what I mean." "Yes," I said. "I still want kids, but I want them with you, however they come into our lives." She reached for my hand and laced her fingers through mine. A few months later, we started the adoption process. It was not the path we imagined when we stood under that bright summer sky in Charleston. But it was ours. And sometimes I think about that moment in the kitchen. The moment I thought my marriage was ending, I walked in ready to fight for my pride. Instead, I learned how to fight for my wife. And that made all the difference.